Hello and welcome to Off My Shelves, and in this episode we're going to be taking a look at the Absolute Edition of Batman Arkham Asylum, a serious house on a serious earth, the 2024, I think, yeah, that's the year we're in, the 2024 reprint edition, so let's get underway. So when this came out back in the day, it had a lot of attention because it was so different and unique, and I think the reason that we've got an Absolute Edition is very much to do with Dave McKean on art, because his art is really astoundingly scary, eye-catching, beautiful, freaky, diverse, complex. There's so much going on, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's certainly one of Grant Morrison's better, shorter, quick, easy. Dare I say easy? We'll get to that, I suppose. But it's certainly one of his better Batman stories. And it is quite a self-contained tale as well. I'm not too sure if it fits into the canon anymore, or if it's considered an Elseworld story. I didn't look into it too much, to be honest. I tend not to care much about canonical kind of, continuity and all that. I just pick it up and read it, and if I like it, I like it. But the build of this book is absolute size, obviously, so comes with a slipcase. Inside the slipcase, you get the Absolute itself. Wonderful cover on the back and side. Terrible spine. The spine is it's almost like a book spine, the pages of a book, but it doesn't really work on the shelf because I go spines out, and so it just looks like there's a weird load of lines halfway into the shelf. But either way, it's a really well made book, as you might imagine. Glossy, thick pages, wonderful editions, these Absolutes. This is a very thin Absolute, and if you can look at it up there, the black pages are more or less the story, while the white pages are the majority of the extras. Some of the black pages are extras as well, which we'll get to, but it is quite a short story. It's not very long at all. Probably falls into that Killing Joke realm of, a very small Absolute. And I think I would forgive a lot of people if they read this and didn't fully understand what was going on and what was being presented in front of them, because it is intentionally quite chaotic and confusing, and you have to pay attention to these little bits of the story, because the main story beats only happen now and again. The majority is all creating atmosphere, really. But I definitely would feel for people who got to the end and were like, what happened there? And equally, the portrayal of Batman in this one is a Batman that's quite passive and quite self-doubting. He hasn't got that over-confidence, over-self-confidence. And so again, if you go into this with a fixed idea of what Batman is to you, you might struggle. You might find this slightly problematic in some ways. But that said, the story is essentially Arkham inmates have been set free and they've taken over the asylum. A classic premise that you've probably heard many, many times, but it's never been done like this at all. So it tells two stories simultaneously, really. It is telling that classic inmates taking over the asylum. So you've got Two-Face, you've got Joker, Scarecrow, the Mad Hatter, Maxi Zeus, all these different Batman staples. But then you've also got a story running parallel to it, which is of the founding of Arkham Asylum and of the story of Amadeus Arkham and his struggles with his mother, his struggles with his past, his struggles with mental health, him seemingly being convinced a demon is stalking his life, or the Arkham building itself, and all of these things gave a very eerie take on Arkham Asylum in general, because you get snippets of his journal as you go through the book. So again, it's quite a 50-50 split as well. Half of it is kind of, the Batman story, and half of it is Amadeus, and then towards the end, the two lines combine. And so when Batman goes inside Arkham Asylum on April Fool's Day, he's met by the Joker and Harvey Dent and all these people, and he's given an insight into what's been going on in Arkham. So how the doctors have been treating them, and how they've kind of treated and cured Harvey Dent by not giving him two choices of a flip of a coin, giving him dice and giving him all these choices. And so now he's so damaged he can't even figure out how to go to the toilet without having been told, because he can't make any decisions for himself. The doctors and the treatment that they are giving comes across as bad as what the inmates are doing to other people as well. But they let the majority of people go and then just keep Batman and one or two of the other doctors in there with him. And they trying to convince him that he's home, really. And again, it's this quite classic trope that villains in Batman see him as more like them than like the other normal people, and he's on the wrong side. He just doesn't realise it yet. And basically Joker challenges him to kind of like a little game of hide and seek. He orders him to kind of go around, you know, and he's threatening hostages and all that. He orders him to go around Arkham, and they'll come for him in an hour, and all his friends, you know, Scarecrow, Joker, Killer Croc, all these will come after him. They get very bored very quickly and just come after him regardless straight away. But again, you get this very passive Batman who is on the back foot, really. You know, and Batman is quite off on this. You know, he's not like overly confident. He's trying to find his way through. He's trying to figure out what's going on, who let the inmates out, how they got out, how to put them back, etc. So he's playing along with the game, but equally he is quite passive and, you know, going from room to room, meeting the different people in his rogues gallery. All the while you get an Amadeus Arkham story filtering through. And I would say it's much more of an Amadeus Arkham story than a Batman story in many ways, even though the two kind of culminate and Batman's mythology and persona comes really slamming together with Amadeus's storyline in general, because his psychosis kind of brings up these images and monsters which Batman kind of plays into. Again, you probably won't get, you know, who let the inmates out and what happened until the very end, and you kind of understand more about it. But I think it's the journey through Arkham which is good, and I think that's why Batman is so passive in this book, because for the book to really work, he needs to kind of wander around and explore this madhouse and just kind of keep going from place to place. And so if he's constantly having fights with every single rogue he comes across, and if he's constantly like on the back foot, it's going to be a difficult kind of progression, really, because it's only a small book. But they wanted to explore these different people, different opinions in the rogues gallery, and different scenes. And so the artwork really changes and drives this, and as Batman kind of makes his way around Arkham Asylum, you're seeing more and more of the villains and you're hearing them talk and engage. And again, Batman is not really engaging much in conversation at all the conversation is coming from them, and they're insinuating, you know, about their mental state, about his mental state, about this, about that. I mean, the only one that he has a proper all-out fight with really is Killer Croc, you know, and Killer Croc really puts him through the ringer. It's more about going through this house and experiencing this house, and then having the story of the family who founded this house and the blood that was spilled at the start of the birth of this house, essentially, if that all makes sense. But the art is absolutely phenomenal, I think. A lot of people are probably going to dislike this style of art because it is so different and so unique. Every type of art technique that you can imagine being woven into it, really, from photorealism to collage to various colouring techniques. You know, you've got loads of different mediums that have been used throughout it and loads of different tricks. Every page, even the pages that are quite standard in panel layout, are just really striking. And so even though it's a short book, you spend a long time on the image, because the image, even the barer ones, there's a lot going on, and you kind of try to investigate them a bit more. And I won't say much more about the story in general, because it is a story that you really need to get into and experience for yourself, and kind of just, it's almost like Batman is giving you a tour of Arkham Asylum when it's been taken over by the inmates. And he's quite happy, not really engaged with them, just kind of going around, because, again, his main goal is trying to find out who's behind this breakout, who's behind all of this. And so he's kind of more focused on finding that out than engaging with any of them. And so, yeah, it's a nice tour of Arkham Asylum on April Fool's Day when it's taken over by everyone who is an occupant. The extras are quite nice as well. Notes on the colour restoration and the art restoration by Dave McKean, and just showing you the kind of process that he went through to restore the art and put it together. Then there's a lovely article by Karen Berger. And then there's the full first draft of the script, really. As far as I can tell, it's the full first draft anyway. Which is quite interesting because the imagery is such an explanatory part of this book. You know, you really have to pay attention to the pictures, even more so than the text, really, because a lot of the speech that people are saying is quite mad speech that is quite poetic and out there and chaotic. But the art, actually what's happening, doesn't tend to lie too much. So paying more attention to that than the script is better sometimes, but the script having to read what was originally intentioned by those scenes is really good as well. And then there's thumbnails by Grant Morrison at the back and some cover galleries and things like that. As far as I can tell, it hasn't changed at all from the original version. Obviously, it's probably more expensive. But that is all I got to say on Arkham Asylum, a serious house on a serious earth. It is well worth a look, but if you don't understand it and don't get it on the first try, don't worry. Just enjoy this chaotic tour the Batman gives you of Arkham Asylum when it's been taken over. And hopefully when you revisit it, you might get more from it. And yeah, it is well worth an absolute edition, I think, because of the art. But either way, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.